On this episode of the Layover Live, Alison Brooks with Visit Mesa stops by to talk about accessibility. Hello everyone and welcome once again to episode 181 of the Layover Live. I'm Jason Swick, VP of Strategy and Insights here at SimpleView, and thank you for joining us once again for today's show. We really do appreciate it. Now, today is May 19th, meaning it is Global Accessibility Day. And that is a time for all of us to get talking and thinking and learning about digital access and inclusion for all. It's an important topic to address as a DMO, as more than 61 million adults in the US alone live with a disability, and that is amazing. That is 1 in 4 adults, which is just an incredible statistic. Now, many DMOs are dedicating their marketing efforts to promoting accessibility, not just for Global Accessibility Day, but for every day throughout their destinations. And this means getting partners involved, dedicating content creation to the cause, and even using digital marketing to reach travelers who might be planning trips around the accessibility of your destinations. Now, Visit Mesa is a destination that is doing just that, one that prioritizes accessibility and inclusion, working to remove the barriers between travelers and the city of Mesa, Arizona. And my guest today is Miss Alison Brooks, who is the Director of Destination Experience and Advocacy at Visit Mesa. So, Alison, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, super happy to have you here. I love the great work you guys are doing, which we'll get into in a second. But how about for those folks out there that don't know you, how about a little background on yourself?
Yeah, so Visit Mesa. First of all, we're in Mesa, Arizona. We're a suburb of the Phoenix area, in case you don't know that already. We are one of the largest cities in the U.S., I believe 35th or 37th largest. So we're a big city. I am the Director of Destination Experience and Advocacy for Visit Mesa. I've been with the organization since the beginning of last year.
Yeah, so again, pretty relatively new, right, to this area, but you guys are already doing a lot of great work, which I want to dive into now, right? So as we start to talk about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, they're frequently used, I think, to talk a lot about race and gender when it comes to people's mind and equality, but there's absolutely a lot more to that. The inclusion of people, with disabilities is something that has to absolutely be part of that conversation. It's something we should absolutely consider. So I want to dive in first and foremost and talk about maybe what inspired Visit Mesa to dive into accessibility as a destination, and maybe to share some of the efforts and some of the things that you guys are doing.
DEI is such a hot topic right now. We all know that. And we also know that accessibility is really important to everyone because disabilities touch almost everyone, whether you yourself have a disability or someone that you love and care about have a disability. So we know it was important. We want to welcome everybody to City Limitless. And so being accessible is important to us. It started with our autism certification, but we also have lots of other programs in place like the Hidden Disability Sunflower, IRA, Threshold 360 videos. I can go on, and lots of content on our website, of course, very important. But it's something that we prioritize. And again, to make true to our promise of being city limitless, and we want people to feel limitless when they come to Mesa.
Yeah, it's a great approach, and I would highly encourage those who are watching this episode. We'll definitely provide some links below too. accessiblemesa.com, and looking at the Sunflower program, the IRA, which all the things you mentioned are just absolutely incredible. So it is very clear that your destination prioritizes accessibility and inclusion. In fact, you had mentioned even earlier that 2 years ago, you guys became the first autism certified destination, which is absolutely amazing. So let's dig into that a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about maybe the inspiration behind that project, how it came to fruition, how were you marketing to that audience and all of that, because it's a pretty amazing program.
Yeah, so our CEO's son is on the spectrum. He's in elementary school. And he, just like every other family, wants to travel. And so every year they would go to a destination. And one year they decided to change from going to where they typically would stay on the beach, but they decided to go stay in the downtown area. And that particular week, Mason is his name, had a really rough week. Just had a lot of breakdowns, as it often happens with those on the spectrum. And the family was used to getting those looks, that the unsolicited advice, the other things that come along with just being a family with autism. But they were not used to getting it from those in the hospitality industry. And that's exactly what happened, unfortunately. And so Mark, our CEO, said, you know what, I can't do anything about this here, but I can go home and do something about it in our city. And so he wanted to make something a little bit bigger than just being autism friendly. He wanted us to be certified and an outside agency to say, look, they've gone the extra mile. So he internally just wanted Visit Mesa. That was kind of the start of it, Visit Mesa and our board to become certified. But soon word got around and suddenly it became a mission. We're going to become the first autism certified city in the nation. So long story short, we have over 50 businesses, almost 5,000 people who are individually certified, who get recertified every 2 years. And it's just a way to welcome these families who have autism, these individuals who have autism, to know that they can come to Mesa, feel welcomed, feel like they know that they're going to be supported and just have a great experience. And so it's just so important because almost 80% of families who have an autistic child do not travel. So being able to be the first autism certified city has made such a difference for just these families alone to come and enjoy some time where they know they're supported. So that's how it began. And then you asked also about how we kind of spread the word about that. And we did do a Google ad campaign. We've done a visitor's guide that's exclusive to autism, which the next version will also be with disabilities as well. We've hosted many influencers to tell that story of how we're certified and the difference that it makes in the experience. And then, of course, we've applied for and received many awards because of our autism certification. It's a very unique angle to market as well. I mean, it was a good business decision too. Not only was it the right thing to do, but it was a great business decision because this is a niche that other people have not really reached out to.
Yeah, what an amazing undertaking, right? And thank you for sharing that, Alison, because it puts things into perspective, right? It usually starts with a passion, right? Which you said from the top down. And then for you to get the whole destination involved as part of this is just absolutely amazing. It's something you guys should be very proud of. And I know even as you and I were talking before the show a little bit about the importance of travel and some of the great memories we had being young, and traveling with our families, those are things that we really, really remember. And everybody should have an opportunity to have those types of memories, which can be a challenge at times, right? Especially if you have an autistic child or things of that nature, and making those experiences seamless and welcoming for those folks in your destination is certainly amazing. So getting into the fact I mentioned at the top of the show about it being Global Accessibility Day, which is an important time, as we talked about. You know, what are you doing there with the team there at Visit Mesa to maybe celebrate and promote that event?
So we are obviously going to be promoting that on our social media very heavily throughout the week, but especially on May 19th. And then we are going to introduce to all of our partners a 15-minute crash course, if you will, training program that's all about the accessibility that we're offering in Mesa, to just remind them, because that's the challenge, right? You can have all of these great programs in place, but the thing is if people don't know about them, they're, without being dramatic, they're almost useless, right? So we're going to be launching a 15-minute crash course on everything that we're doing in the accessibility area in Mesa. And that'll be sent out to our partners on May 19th to kind of celebrate, or actually a couple of days before, so that they can celebrate themselves and really recognize this day.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Sounds like a great course. Again, way to bring awareness around this particular topic, which is absolutely fantastic. So then, as we look forward, right, and we look to the future of some of the things you're doing, maybe talk a little bit about your accessibility goals and endeavors that you guys are working on in the future. What are you guys hoping to accomplish there? Because again, outside of your guys' website, which I would encourage everybody, go take a look at this great content and programs, the Sunflower program and the thoughtfulness that went into this program. It's absolutely amazing. But what are you guys doing in the future? What are you looking forward to that's maybe coming down the pipeline?
So our big lofty goal and our vision is to become the most accessible city in the United States. That's a huge goal. I know it. And the process of it is never ending. I know that for a fact. Adding content, updating content, adding programs that really are a good fit, that help people, a lot of people, never ends. but continuing to expand upon the information, because that's why people use, really to come to a DMO, come to Visit Mesa's website. They're there to gather information. So our role is to provide that information and be as thorough as possible. So that just never ends and will always be forefront on the top of the mission. But we also started a new foundation called the Mesa Regional Foundation for Accessibility, Diversity, and Inclusion. And so the goal with that is to be able to get funding out of that, to be able to provide further programming, more accessible tools and technologies, and even help sponsor some of these businesses that want to become certified, but maybe the hurdle is the financial part of that. So that foundation is a priority to growing and getting financing and hopefully grants and all kinds of things to be able to do all the things that we want to do.
Yeah, I love that, and you guys have that North Star out there of trying to be the top destination of that. And again, you have to have something to shoot for, right? And it keeps the team and everybody focused and moving forward. In wrapping up, then I think we always like to ask advice of the guests on the show, being that you guys have done an incredible amount of work through all these various programs and content marketing and whatnot. Maybe any advice for other DMOs out there who are looking at taking their own accessibility responsibilities maybe to the next level. Do you have any advice that maybe you could offer them in departing?
I definitely do. And I could probably go on for an hour on just this alone, but I will try to keep this condensed. I would say, first of all, that it's a process, that it's never going to be perfect. The important part is that you just start. People know, I think for the most part, that you're trying to do the right thing. And so if you can just start, and I would say, this is such a big topic, and sometimes you're like, where do I start? And in my opinion, there's really two buckets to doing this. And the first bucket is all about the physical things that you might be able to do. Like, for example, adopting technologies or adopting programs like the Hidden Disability Sunflower or IRA or Threshold 360 or Able Eyes, all of these great things that we do. Those are physical things you can do. You can go help your partners and help them do some audits. What could they be doing that might make the experience for somebody that has a disability better? Right? That's all physical things that we can do. They might cost a few dollars. And so, sometimes I have to prioritize what might be the better bang for my buck. But that's one bucket. But the other bucket people often forget about is the education piece, the training piece. And that's something that is low cost. You can go out there. There is information, and I can definitely share with you all these different PDFs and presentations and videos and all kinds of content that you can find and just collect and gather and share in a meaningful way with your partners. And that's just education. And you could always have somebody come in and do a training. And that's really generally a low cost thing. But for me, I know it's so important. I worked in the hospitality industry for my entire life, and never once did I get a training on how to speak to somebody with a disability. So I want to change that. And so for me, it's those two buckets. If you can make a little bit of a difference with just doing a little bit of those things, that's a great start. And then I would also say, when you do get all of this information, when you do start a landing page, please don't bury the information. A lot of the times this stuff is third and fourth page down and you can't find it. And that does no good for anyone if it's so buried that people can't find it. So make sure that it's in a place that's accessible for everyone. And then finally, I just want to say that this shouldn't be done in a silo. I mean, it's great that Visit Mesa is recognized for these efforts, but the world would be a better place if we can make sure that people who have disabilities can also travel. I was like, we were discussing before, I can't imagine, I have two sons, and I cannot tell you what gifts I gave them for their birthdays or Christmas or any of those things. But what I can tell you is I can tell you every single trip and every single vacation that we've taken and how we felt and all those great memories. And to me, if somebody feels that they can't travel because of that reason, because they might have a disability, like that hurts me. So I want to make sure that everybody that could travel will travel. And so, like, if we can all work together to make travel a little bit more accessible, let's do it. So please feel free to reach out to me. I will share my information. We can get better together.
Yeah, I would encourage reaching out to you as well, and thank you for that wise words. Could not have said it, but I think it's great advice. All the things you mentioned there are absolutely spot on. and appreciate you for coming on today, and Alison, and really sharing all the great work that you and the team at Visit Mesa are doing.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And again, please reach out.
We'll do. We'll definitely provide a link below, as well as to some of the other things that you guys are doing. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. We really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please do so now. We're also available on Spotify and iTunes through audio podcast. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.